welcome the gathering. So,
Honorable Chief Minister, Honorable Ministers, distinguished guests, scholars, friends, good morning. We meet on the last day of Kerala Vision 2031. And in Kerala, last day is only a figure of speech because we treat every closing session as an opening scene of the next conversation. Over the last 2 days, this conference has done something very rare. It has put breadth and depth in the same room. We have heard the language of work and dignity, the language of science and systems, from energy and water to the hard arithmetic of resilience, the language of technology and future, AI, automation, and what it does to everyday life, the language of culture, because a society that forgets its stories eventually forgets its people, and the language of health and nutrition, because development is never complete until it reaches the plate, the body, and the next generation. So today, after many sessions across multiple venues, the Kerala State Planning Board brings us to the spine of the whole story: secularism, democracy, and consultative government. Not as slogans, as working values, the moral architecture that can sustain a development experience across generations. And there is a reason this is our closing session. Because the world is anxious about both the words, development and democracy. Some want development without dissent. Others want democracy without responsibility. Kerala's wager has been different. We believe rights and welfare travel together, that civil liberties, rule of law, and full electoral democracy are not decorative ideals, but practical conditions for justice and welfare. This session also reminds us that secularism is not polite distance from faith. It is equal respect so that public policy can be fair to every citizen and social life can remain stable and inclusive. And if we may add a Kerala footnote to the idea of secularism, here it has never been only a constitutional doctrine, it has been a lived habit. Long before we learned the word secularism in our civics class, we practiced it in our streets and schools, in our ports and marketplaces, in our everyday friendships. In the state, difference is not something we merely tolerate. It is something we have learned to live alongside with pleasure. Because we know that the moment faith becomes a tool of power, society begins to tear, as history has proven across space and time. So Kerala's secularism ensures that society keeps its humane closeness to one another. And that is why consultation matters so much to us, because listening across difference is the daily maintenance work of a plural society. And that is the real Kerala story. It is also administrative routine and civic muscle memory, not by accident, but by design. The state has long run on a discipline of periodic district and state level reviews of the communal situation, with district magistrates explicitly tasked with keeping harmony steady, not as an occasional firefighting exercise, but as continuous prevention. And our history lesson is almost a civics lesson in pluralism. Kerala has a proud singular privilege of having the oldest synagogue in India, the oldest church in India, and the oldest mosque in India, reminding us that coexistence here is not a slogan, it is a heritage. Swami Vivekananda once looked at the social cruelties of his time and called this land a lunatic asylum. We have traveled a long distance since then into a Kerala that is India's first digitally literate state and has eliminated extreme poverty. So, God's own country is not just a tourism tagline here. At our best, it is an ethical ambition to make public life fair and private faith free. And then comes our favorite phrase for Kerala's best habit, which is government by discussion. In some places, discussion is treated like delay. In Kerala, discussion is treated like due process, sometimes noisy, often emotional, but always civilizing. So it is fitting that our closing session places a democracy on stage itself, a conversation across power, law, ideas, facts, and stories. If someone asked what consultation looks like, this is a good picture. May I now get on to my duties of welcoming the guests. We are extremely honored by the presence of our visionary Chief Minister. The Honorable Chief Minister Shri Pinarayi Vijayan's commitment to Kerala's achievements carries a deeper message that governance is not only about speed, it is also about direction. And that direction must be towards dignity. Sir, we are honored by your presence and leadership, and I extend a very warm welcome to you. Let me also welcome the Honorable Minister for Finance, Mr. Balagopal, to this function. Let me welcome the Minister for Local Self-Government, Mr. M.B. Rajesh. Let me welcome the Vice Chairman of the State Planning Board, Mr. V.K. Ramachandran, and the Principal Secretary, Planning, Dr. Sharmila Mary Joseph. We are honored today by the presence of our chief guest, Dr. Farooq Abdullah. Sir, we welcome you with great warmth. He's on his way. So, Madam Kanimozhi Karunanidhi, who is joining us online, a very warm welcome to you. You represent a tradition where language is not merely communication. It is identity, dignity, and political imagination. And along our southern coast, we understand that instinct deeply. Our histories are shared, our cultures have conversed for centuries, and our democracies become healthier when they learn from each other's arguments. Your presence strengthens today's theme because secularism and consultation are ultimately about making space. Space for difference, for voice, for the vulnerable, and for the women to speak without being invited to speak. Justice A.P. Shah, we are very honored to welcome you. In any democracy, the most reassuring sound is not applause. It is a quiet certainty that power has limits and that rights have meaning. Kerala's public life has long depended on that equilibrium. Strong participation, strong institutions, and the belief that fairness must survive even when politics gets loud. Your presence brings that constitutional wisdom into a final conversation, reminding us that consultative government is not simply a style, but a discipline. Shri Prakash Karat, a very warm welcome. Your public life has been shaped by the insistence that democracy must answer to the everyday: wages, work, dignity, public services, rather than remain only a speech on a stage. That emphasis resonates strongly here, where our development story has always tried to translate social justice into institutions that people can actually use. In a session on secularism and consultative government, your presence is a reminder that ideologies too must remain accountable to lived reality and that disagreement can be principled without being poisonous. Shri N. Ram, we extend a very special welcome to you. In a democracy, facts are not just information. Facts are a public good. And journalism at its best is a form of civic service. Kerala's consultative habit has always depended on an unusually alert public sphere. Citizens who read, question, argue, and then show up. citizens who treat governance as a shared enterprise. Your presence honors the tradition and also challenges it to keep our debates honest, evidence-based, and humane. We are delighted to have your voice as we end this summit the way a democracy should, by returning to truth. Shri Syed Akhtar Mirza, a very warm welcome to you. Cinema at its best is democracy by another route. It teaches a society to see the lives it might otherwise walk past and to feel the consequences of choices made in distant rooms. In the state where storytelling is a public habit, from theater to film to conversations that run longer than the evening, your presence is a perfect fit for a closing session on secularism and social cohesion. You remind us that the hardest truths are often carried not by slogans, but by stories, quietly, stubbornly, memorably. Friends, as we begin, let me offer one small thought, because this session is about secularism, democracy, and consultation. Secularism is an ethic that keeps society from tearing. Democracy is a method that keeps power from hardening. And consultation is a habit that keeps government human. And when these three work together, development becomes more than just projects and percentages. It becomes a shared life. And so let us do what Kerala does best today. Speak freely. Listen seriously. Disagree without hatred. And leave this hall with something more precious than any conclusion. Clarity, courage, and a renewed commitment to the common table. With that, I welcome all of you once again to this concluding session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request the Honorable Minister for Finance, Sri K.N. Balagopal, to deliver the presidential address. Sir.
ബഹുമാനപ്പെട്ട മുഖ്യമന്ത്രി ഉൾപ്പെടെ ഈ വേദിയിലുള്ള വളരെ ബഹുമാനരായ അതിഥികളെ, പ്രിയമുള്ള സഹോദരി സഹോദരന്മാരെ, സുഹൃത്തുക്കളെ, ഇന്നത്തെ വിഷയം ജനാധിപത്യവും മതനിരപേക്ഷതയും ജനകീയമായ ചർച്ചകളിൽ കൂടിയുള്ള ഭരണവും എന്ന വിഷയത്തെ സംബന്ധിച്ചാണ്. ഇത് സംബന്ധിച്ച് ചർച്ച ചെയ്യുന്നതിന് ഇന്ത്യയിൽ ഇന്ന് ലഭ്യമായിട്ടുള്ള ഏറ്റവും പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ഒരു വലിയ നിരയാണ് നമ്മുടെ സെമിനാറിൽ പങ്കെടുക്കുന്നത്. കാശ്മീർ മുതൽ കന്യാകുമാരി വരെ എന്ന പ്രയോഗം അക്ഷരാർത്ഥത്തിൽ പൂർണ്ണമാക്കിയ പങ്കാളിത്തമാണ്. വളരെ ബഹുമാനായ ശ്രീ ഫറൂഖ് അബ്ദുള്ള അദ്ദേഹം ഇവിടെ എത്തിയിട്ടുണ്ട്, ഇന്നലെ എത്തി, അപ്പോൾ ഇപ്പോൾ എത്തിച്ചേരും. കന്യാകുമാരി തമിഴ്നാട് മേഖലയിൽ നിന്ന് DMKയുടെ പ്രമുഖ നേതാവായ ശ്രീമതി കനിമൊഴി ഉൾപ്പെടെ പ്രഗത്ഭരായ ജസ്റ്റിസുമാരും പത്രപ്രവർത്തകരും രാഷ്ട്രീയ നേതാക്കന്മാരും എല്ലാം പങ്കെടുക്കുന്ന സെമിനാറാണ്. വിഷയത്തെ സംബന്ധിച്ച് വളരെ വിശദമായി അവർ ചർച്ച ചെയ്യും. മനുഷ്യൻ്റെ പങ്കാളിത്തത്തോടു കൂടിയുള്ള പുരോഗതിയും ജനാധിപത്യവും സർവോപരി സെക്യുലറിസം ഉറപ്പാക്കുന്നതിന് വേണ്ടിയുള്ള പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങളുമാണ് ഗവൺമെൻറ്റിൽ ഏറ്റവും പ്രധാനം. കേരളം അതിനെന്നും മാതൃകയായിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഈ സെമിനാർ 75ാം വർഷത്തിലേക്ക് എത്തുന്ന കേരളത്തിൻ്റെ 2031 കേരളം എങ്ങനെയായിരിക്കണം എന്നുള്ളതിനെ പറ്റിയുള്ള ചർച്ചകളാണ് സംഘടിപ്പിച്ചത്. ഞാൻ സെമിനാറിൻ്റെ വിഷയങ്ങളിലേക്ക് പോകുന്നില്ല. ഈ വിഷയം, നമ്മുടെ ഈ സെമിനാർ വളരെ സന്തോഷകരമായ അനുഭവങ്ങൾ പങ്കുവച്ച സെമിനാറാണ്. വളരെ ബഹുമാനായ ഫറൂഖ് അബ്ദുള്ളജി ഇങ്ങോട്ട് വന്നുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ്. അദ്ദേഹത്തെ ഞാൻ ഒരിക്കൽ കൂടി ഈ വേദിയിലേക്ക് സ്വാഗതം ചെയ്യുന്നു. ഇന്ത്യയുടെ അങ്ങേയറ്റത്തു നിന്നും നമ്മുടെ ഈ പരിപാടിയിലൂടെ എത്തിച്ചേർന്നു എന്നുള്ളത് വളരെ സന്തോഷകരമായ കാര്യമാണ്. ബഹുമാനപ്പെട്ട മുഖ്യമന്ത്രിയും മന്ത്രിമാരും പാർലമെൻറ്റ് മെമ്പർമാരുമെല്ലാം ഡൽഹിയിൽ നടത്തിയ കേന്ദ്രത്തിൻ്റെ ഫിസ്ക്കൽ ഫെഡറലിസത്തിൻ്റെ സമീപനത്തെ സംബന്ധിച്ച്, കേരളത്തിന് അർഹമായ പണം കിട്ടാത്തതിനെ സംബന്ധിച്ചുള്ള പ്രക്ഷോഭ സമരത്തിൽ ഒരൊറ്റ സംസ്ഥാന ഗവൺമെൻറ്റാണ് കേന്ദ്രത്തിലെ ഗവൺമെൻറ്റിനെതിരെ അങ്ങനെ സമരം നടത്തിയത്. ആ സമരത്തിൽ ബഹുമാനായ ഫറൂഖ് അബ്ദുള്ളജി, he personally came and spoke in that agitation in Delhi. We are very happy, and once again I am saying thanks to him for his attendance there. the main objective of this seminar has to provide a platform for leading international experts, academic scholars, and policy practitioners to critically and objectively assess Kerala's achievements in various development sectors and share their perspective on future development pathways. And over the past 2 days, more than 120 experts from across the world have tried to situate Kerala's development experience within contemporary national and global perspective and trends. Kerala's development trajectory is unique in several ways. It has attracted international attention for its remarkable achievements in human development despite several resource constraints compared to other states. However, it is always important to understand how the rest of the country and the world view the state's development experience. Consultation has been the hallmark of Kerala's development experience. From the very formation of the state, Kerala has upheld a distinctive tradition of consulting its people and experts while shaping its development trajectory. This conference continues that democratic and participatory legacy. It reflects our collective commitment to evidence-based policymaking and informed public reasoning. The Left Democratic Front government has consistently prioritized programs that accelerate the social and economic progress of the people of Kerala. Our social development initiatives, including those aimed at eradicating extreme poverty, have attracted global attention and have significantly elevated Kerala's to standards comparable to those of middle-income European societies. These accomplishments are not endpoints, they are milestones in an ongoing journey. This conference has provided a valuable opportunity for globally acclaimed experts and policy leaders to examine Kerala's achievements in comparison with other best-performing models worldwide. Such comparisons would enhance clarity about the pathways we must adopt in the future. The insights generated here will undoubtedly help us to articulate a sharper, forward-looking development vision for Kerala. Distinguished personalities from national and international arena attended this conference. Their willingness to observe Kerala's inclusive development journey and to contribute their knowledge and experience is thankfully acknowledged. The conference had parallel sessions covering key development sectors including economic growth with social justice and fiscal sustainability in the state. The conference also discussed strengthening cooperative institutions, fostering entrepreneurship, promoting technology growth, and advancing infrastructure development. The need to strengthen public health system with global best practices and develop nutritional security systems and was also discussed. The conference also addressed aging population challenges through elderly care policy frameworks. Mainstreaming gender and related issues were also discussed. The status of primary production in the state, climate resilience, value chains, and export potential were also discussed. Modernization of production sector was a key focus of the conference. Positioning Kerala as a knowledge hub in artificial intelligence, strengthening university industry linkage, and the startup ecosystem were also discussed in detail. Kerala's commitment to deepening democracy through strengthening decentralized governance and the need to expand consultative public policy were also important themes of the conference. The insights from the international seminar will undoubtedly be valuable inputs for identifying gaps and designing innovative program for the future. So this is the final concluding part of the seminars, and this is a very important subject, and we hope that this session will further add upon the experience of Kerala, and I hope this will be a remarkable remarkable page in the history of our development. So I once again thank you for all of the important speakers who are attending here, and hope that we can further proceed with the ideas which we are receiving from this conference for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I invite the Honorable Chief Minister of Kerala, Sri Pinarayi Vijayan, for the opening address. Sir.
Distinguished guests, respected scholars and practitioners, honored guests from across the world, and my fellow friends. വിഷൻ 2031 ഇൻ്റർനാഷണൽ കോൺഫറൻസിൻ്റെ സമാപനം കുറിച്ചുകൊണ്ടുള്ള സമ്മേളനമാണിത്. രാജ്യത്തിനകത്തും പുറത്തുമുള്ള അക്കാദമിക് വിദഗ്ധരെയും പ്രതിഭകളെയും സാങ്കേതിക വിദഗ്ധരെയും ഒരു കുടക്കീഴിൽ കൊണ്ടുവന്ന് ഇത്തരത്തിൽ ചർച്ചകൾ സംഘടിപ്പിക്കാൻ കഴിഞ്ഞതിൽ അഭിമാനവും സന്തോഷവുമുണ്ട്. ചിലർ ഈ ചർച്ച നടക്കരുതെന്ന് ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്ന നിലയും ഉണ്ടായി. ചിലർ വരുന്നതിനെ തടയാൻ പറ്റുമെന്നൊരു ശ്രമവും ചിലർ നടത്തുന്നതായി കണ്ടു. പക്ഷെ അതൊന്നും ബാധിച്ചില്ല എന്ന് നമുക്കെല്ലാവർക്കും അറിയാം. ഏതായാലും ഇവിടെ നടന്ന ചർച്ചകൾ വലിയ തോതിൽ കേരളത്തിന് അഭിമാനം പകരുന്നതാണ്. ചർച്ചകളുടെ ആഴം കൊണ്ടും ഉരുത്തിരിഞ്ഞു വന്ന ആശയങ്ങളുടെ ദീർഘദർശിത്വം കൊണ്ടും ശ്രദ്ധേയമായ ഒന്നായി ഈ കോൺഫറൻസ് മാറിക്കഴിഞ്ഞിരിക്കുന്നു. വരുംകാലത്ത് കേരളത്തിൻ്റെ എല്ലാ തലങ്ങളിലുമുള്ള വളർച്ചയ്ക്ക് അടിത്തറയാവും ഈ കോൺഫറൻസിൽ ഉയർന്നു വന്ന ചർച്ചകളും നിർദ്ദേശങ്ങളും എന്ന കാര്യത്തിൽ സംശയമേയില്ല. ഇത്തരം സംവാദങ്ങൾ എപ്പോഴും കേരളത്തിൻ്റെ ഭാവിക്ക് മുതൽക്കൂട്ടാകും എന്ന് തന്നെയാണ് കരുതുന്നത്. ഇപ്പോൾ കേരളീയ സമൂഹത്തിന് പൊതുവെ ബോധ്യമായ ഒരു കാര്യമുണ്ട്. കേരള ചരിത്രത്തിൽ ഒരു പുതിയ അധ്യായം എഴുതി ചേർത്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഈ കോൺഫറൻസ് അവസാനിക്കുന്നത് എന്നതാണ് ആ ബോധ്യം. ഇന്ത്യയിലെ മറ്റ് സംസ്ഥാനങ്ങളിലും കേന്ദ്രഭരണ പ്രദേശങ്ങളിലും ലോകത്തെമ്പാടുമുള്ള വിവിധ രാജ്യങ്ങളിലുമായി വസിക്കുന്ന പ്രതിഭകളുടെ വിജ്ഞാനവും അനുഭവവും കേരളത്തിൻ്റെ ഭാവി വികസനത്തിന് ഉപയോഗിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി ഇതിലൂടെ കഴിയുമെന്ന ബോധ്യം. സമാനതകളില്ലാത്തതും പല കാര്യങ്ങളിലും പുതുമയുള്ളതുമായ ഒരു കോൺഫറൻസാണ് ഇവിടെ നടന്നത്. വലിയ ചാരിതാർത്ഥ്യത്തോടെയാണ് ഈ സമ്മേളനത്തിൽ പങ്കെടുത്ത ഓരോരുത്തരും പിരിയുന്നത് എന്ന കാര്യം ഉറപ്പാണ്. തുടക്കത്തിൽ വിഭാവനം ചെയ്തതിനേക്കാൾ വലിയ ആശയങ്ങൾ സൃഷ്ടിക്കാൻ ഇതിന് കഴിഞ്ഞു. ഇതിൽ പങ്കെടുത്ത ഓരോരുത്തരുടെയും മനസ്സിൽ കേരളത്തെ സംബന്ധിച്ചുള്ള ധാരണ കുറച്ചുകൂടി വിപുലമായിരിക്കുന്നു എന്നും കാണാം. കേരളീയരുടെ ആത്മവിശ്വാസത്തെ ഉയർത്താൻ നിങ്ങളുടെ സംഭാവന സഹായിക്കും. ഇത് കേരളത്തിൻ്റെ വികേന്ദ്രീകൃത ജനാധിപത്യവൽക്കരണത്തെ ഒരു പടി കൂടി മുന്നോട്ട് കൊണ്ടുപോകും. ഈ സമ്മേളനത്തിൻ്റെ നിർദ്ദേശങ്ങളിൽ തുടർ നടപടികൾ എടുക്കാൻ സംസ്ഥാന സർക്കാർ പ്രവർത്തിക്കും. ഇവയിൽ നിയമനിർമ്മാണം ആവശ്യമുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ നിയമനിർമ്മാണ സഭയുടെ ശ്രദ്ധയിൽ കൊണ്ടുവരും. കൂടുതൽ ഗവേഷണവും പഠനവും ആസൂത്രണവും ആവശ്യമായ കാര്യങ്ങളിൽ വിശദവും ആധികാരികവുമായ റിപ്പോർട്ടുകൾ തയ്യാറാക്കും. നയപരമായ കാര്യങ്ങളിൽ സർക്കാർ തീരുമാനമെടുക്കുകയും ചെയ്യും. യോഗ്യമായ ആശയങ്ങളെ പ്രോജക്റ്റുകളാക്കി മാറ്റുകയും വിവിധ സർക്കാർ അർദ്ധ സർക്കാർ ഏജൻസികൾ വഴി നടപ്പിലാക്കുകയും ചെയ്യും. അങ്ങനെ ഐക്യ കേരളം പിറവി കൊണ്ടതിൻ്റെ 75-ാം വർഷത്തിൽ നമ്മൾ വിഭാവനം ചെയ്ത ഒരു നവകേരളത്തിലേക്ക് എത്തിച്ചേരും. അതിൻ്റെ അടിത്തറയായി വർത്തിക്കാൻ കഴിയുന്ന ആശയങ്ങൾക്ക് ഊടും പാവും നെയ്ത ഈ സമ്മേളനത്തിൽ പങ്കെടുത്ത ഓരോരുത്തർക്കും നന്ദി അറിയിക്കട്ടെ. As we come to the close of this international conference, we are conscious that we are concluding more than a 3-day academic and policy engagement. We are bringing to completion a collective exercise in reflection, dialogue, and imagination. This was an exercise that tried to understand Kerala's past critically, assess its present, and constructively think about its future. Over the past few days, this conference has demonstrated something that lies at the heart of Kerala's public life. It is that the formulation of public policy is not a closed exercise conducted by a few, but a participatory process shaped by dialogue between the state and the society. The discussions around Vision 2031 have moved far beyond being a technical document. They have emerged as a shared framework informed by evidence, debate, and democratic consultation for Kerala as it approaches its 75th year as a state. What has been especially valuable is the diversity of voices that have shaped these conversations. There were economists, social scientists, technologists, local government representatives, civil society actors, and citizens in these conferences. This diversity reflects a deeper feature of Kerala's development experience. It is the belief that sustainable progress requires social consensus, institutional participation, and democratic legitimacy. Kerala's development journey has never been a straight line. From land reforms and investments in public education and health to social security and decentralized planning, the so-called Kerala's development experience has been one of continuous renewal. It has rested on the understanding that markets alone cannot deliver social justice, and that public action, democratic institutions, and collective mobilization are essential to human development. In November 2025, Kerala declared itself the first Indian state to have eliminated extreme poverty. This achievement was not the outcome of a single scheme. It was the cumulative result of decades of public investment, welfare institutions, and grassroots participation. It reaffirmed a basic principle that has guided Kerala's approach. Economic growth must be evaluated not only by aggregate numbers, but by its ability to secure dignity and basic security for all. Yet, as many papers and sessions at this conference have shown, Kerala now stands at a new historical moment. The challenge before us is no longer only about expanding access to basic services. It is about transforming a high human development society into a productive, knowledge driven economy that generates quality employment, fosters innovation, and remains environmentally sustainable. All of this without abandoning its social commitments. One of the most important foundations of this transition is Kerala's long standing commitment to participatory governance. Decentralization in Kerala has not been treated as an administrative reform alone, but as a democratic project. From the People's Plan campaign of 1996 onwards, local self-government have played a central role in development planning, service delivery, and social inclusion. I take this opportunity to express my gratitude to Sri Manishankar Iyer for his generous remarks on Kerala's achievements in decentralization. His observation that Kerala stands as India's leading example of Panchayati Raj resonates deeply with our own experience. The political roots of decentralization in Kerala can be traced back to the first communist ministry under Sri E.M.S. Namboodiripad, which recognized local democracy as essential to social transformation. Decentralization in Kerala has matured over time. It has enabled communities to identify local needs, manage public resources, and participate directly in governance. This has been particularly important in sectors such as primary health care, school education, poverty alleviation, and disaster response. The experience of recent floods and landslides has once again shown how crucial empowered local governments are in moments of crisis. At the same time, we recognize that decentralization is not a finished project. Governance systems must evolve with the changing social and economic conditions. In this context, the suggestion to undertake comprehensive legislative reforms to the Kerala Municipal and Panchayati Raj Acts is one that we take seriously. Some reforms have already been incorporated over time, but more changes are necessary to strengthen administrative capacity, financial autonomy, and accountability. The urban policy document recently approved by the Cabinet proposes the constitution of a committee to recommend amendments to the Municipal Act. Similarly, the Vision 2031 document prepared by the Local Self-Government Department calls for comprehensive reforms to the Kerala Panchayati Raj Act. These initiatives reflect our commitment to ensure that decentralization remains relevant, effective, and democratic in a rapidly changing economy. Another central theme that has run through this conference is the relationship between democracy, secularism, and development. Kerala's experience reminds us that secularism is not merely a constitutional principle, but a lived social practice. It is visible in our schools, neighborhoods, workplaces, and local institutions. At a time when many societies across the world, including our own country, are witnessing growing polarization, Kerala has largely managed to preserve social harmony. This was the result of conscious political choices, inclusive public institutions, and a culture of mutual respect. As Professor Amartya Sen has reminded us, social cohesion is not a byproduct of development, it is a precondition for it. Trust between communities, confidence in institutions, and the absence of fear are essential for economic activity, innovation, and investment. Kerala's secular ethos has therefore been one of its most valuable economic assets. Protecting this ethos is a responsibility of the state and society. Development that excludes or marginalizes sections of society ultimately undermines itself. Kerala's commitment is to ensure that economic transformation strengthens rather than weakens democratic pluralism and social inclusion. Several discussions at this conference have also drawn attention to the changing nature of fiscal federalism in India. States today play an increasingly important role in delivering public services and driving development. But their fiscal space has become more constrained. Kerala's experience illustrates some of these tensions. This state has consistently mobilized a high proportion of its own revenues and maintained strong public service delivery. At the same time, changes, intergovernmental fiscal arrangements, borrowing limits, and the structure of central transfers have created new challenges. I wish to place this issue before an international audience, not in the language of confrontation, but as a matter of democratic governance. Cooperative federalism requires predictability, fairness, and respect for constitutional roles. States must have the fiscal capacity to fulfill the responsibilities entrusted to them, particularly in areas such as health, education, social protection, and infrastructure. Despite these constraints, Kerala has continued to prioritize welfare, education, and public services. Measures such as supporting students, workers, and vulnerable groups reflect a conscious effort to balance fiscal responsibility with social commitment. This balance is not easy, but it is necessary if democracy is to retain public trust. The discussions around Vision 2031 have shown that Kerala's future strategy rests on three interlinked principles: growth with quality employment, democratic participation, and social justice.